Okay, I've got mine going.
Yeah.
There we go. It's recording. All right, then we will open the meeting at 7:03. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Oakland Mills Community Association Village Board meeting. Thanks for joining us. Our first order of business would be a motion to approve the minutes from our March 9th, 2021 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Ginny makes the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Lynn, I think I got Lynn first. Lynn seconds. Is there any
Okay.
discussion on those minutes? Okay, all in favor of approval? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3. Any opposed? And abstain? Okay, so we have 301. Rashida was not at our last meeting. Okay, so 301 approves the minutes. All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's board meeting?
I'll move.
Okay, Lynn motions to approve. Is there a second?
A second.
Got you that time, Rena. Okay, Rena seconds. Any discussion of tonight's agenda? All right, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3. Rashida, are you?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's
You have to go a little higher. Your cameras. I saw like the tip of a finger sort of in the picture. All right. 400 approving tonight's agenda. Okay, we will move on to resident remarks. If you are a resident and would like to make remarks to the board, you have up to 3 minutes to make remarks. If you raise your hand in Skype, or if you don't have the hand raising feature in Skype, if you turn on your video and show me your hand, I will call on you in the order I see you. I've got Ashley first. Do we have any other residents wishing to make remarks? Going once, going twice? Ashley, you are on.
Hey friends, it's me again. I wanted to let you all know that I know, Jonathan, you had sent us the email and we were going to reach out to possibly try to get some presenters to come in for the April 13th meeting. So we did reach out to Safa here, our community liaison, in regards to the health department. We're just waiting on a reply from her. And then we do have, PFC Corey Emmer, who will be available for the April 13th meeting to come and speak in regards to the for the Howard County Police Department. So we will forward that over to you all, but we just wanted to give you that update since we got those emails in today.
Jonathan,
Thank you very much. Yes, Ginny.
question for Ashley. Ashley, I'm sorry, you were saying the health officer, but do you know if the health officer is going to bring anybody from the mental health division, behavioral health, or anyone else in the department?
So we did reach out to ask for that.
Yeah.
Right. So we did reach out to ask for that, and our community liaison is the one who will coordinate those that will be present. So we'll email that over to Jonathan. That way, if there's anyone additional you guys would like to add, feel free. We'll see if we can also get them on as well.
Yeah, because it really, a lot of this is mental health, behavioral health. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's
All right.
it. That's all I had.
Thank you very much, Ashley. All right, we can move right on to our old business. So the first item of old business for 10 minutes is Symphony Woods Park. So at our last meeting, we had Nina Basu here to present to us the plans for Symphony Woods Park, and there was some discussion of other village boards taking positions to ask the county to support development of Symphony Woods Park with funding, and we decided that we would bring that back today as old business to discuss whether Oakland Mills wanted to send a similar position letter. And I think it was actually Bill who asked that to be on the agenda. Of course, he's not here, but I think other than Rashida, we all saw the plans and we were reacting favorably to those plans. So would anyone like to open additional discussion on support for Symphony Woods Park?
Can I say something?
No, of course you can.
I hear, but is anyone?
It sounds like a smoke detector.
I don't know if it's my house or someone else's house, so I'll have to wait till this ends.
Hearing it. I just want to say that in regard to the plan, I went over it again, and I think it's just so solid. I really hope that we can get the funding started sooner rather than later. So I think that using is it King's Contrivance that wrote the letter?
No, what I was going to say is Town Center wrote a letter. I think I sent it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Theirs is very full of statistics and stuff that they wrote, but I think ours can be, and it was to the county executive and copy to the county council, or to both, about their county FY '22 budget. But there's a lot of bullets as far as the improvements to the whole community, and inclusive community, walkable to Oakland Mills, which is really important.
Yeah.
That it would contribute to the quality of life in downtown and everywhere else. And again, how it's very close to Oakland Mills. It would be walkable, bikeable, skatable, quality entertainment that is provided, and like a world-class park. So I think if we pull out those bullets without all of the details that their letter went into, it probably covers what we want to say.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we need to get into the weeds too much. And I'd like to put something else in, that it's kind of best practices in what park design is now, in public space design, in terms of the attention to environmental issues, and also having combining the active areas with the passive areas, all of that, and all the mitigation stuff for how the water is going to be treated. I just think it's excellent. I'm so proud of our community for even putting this forward the way it is. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, as Oakland Mills, I don't think we need to get to the level of detail that Town Center did, because it's not being built in our village, right? It's in Town Center. So I think we should write it from both an Oakland Mills and just a public good perspective, right? The Oakland Mills perspective would be our proximity and the walkability between us and Town Center. And then the public good would be, the design, the environmental factors, things like that benefit everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's sort of two main categories of our points,
Right.
The Oakland Mills and public good.
Right.
Okay. Well, I can send it around and get comments, and then we can, guess we're agreeing to then forward it to the county executive and county council.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we need to call a vote on this, because we're not making a financial obligation, and we're also not doing a formal testimony. It's a letter of support for a concept. So I think if we're in verbal agreement here, we can start drafting a letter and then circulate it around.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, and if you keep in mind, this went through several public hearings at the CA board level. 4 CA board members were actively involved in this, as well as community people and the Ann Arbor Trust board. So a lot of people involved in developing this that should get a lot of credit for all the work that they did. But it's also subject to, if there are any changes, CA, we attached some amendments to it, there would be the public hearings. But the other concern is, as Howard Hughes continues to develop across the road, this land is sensitive. You want to make sure we start doing more in terms of stormwater management, et cetera. So that's it. And the grants, you don't want to miss any grants that could be coming. CA is doing letters of support as well. Thank you. Thanks for considering this, guys.
All right. I think we can move on to donation discussion or donation distributions. Sandy, or is that one of our attachments? I was going to say, could you review for us what the current, what we have in the current budget? Because I got confused during the education meeting on the amount.
Let me just pull it up. So you're not seeing me, but I'm pulling it up so I can tell you.
Yeah, I pulled up the third quarter to see if I could grab it real quick, but my mind doesn't work that fast anymore. Oh, here it is.
I'm getting
It
there.
was 50. We had 1,500 in donations. So it was that. I thought it was 250 per school. It's that would make it 350 per school if we went with what we were thinking before. Right now we have 1,500 in the 2021 revised budget line item for donations. And when we adopted that budget, the thinking was that if we could give anything at all, we wouldn't, solicit requests or anything like that. We would just hand $300 to each of our 5 school PTAs, figuring that they were struggling as well, and call it a year if we were even able to do that. So I think what we need to discuss tonight is, and Sandy, you can report on the financials a little bit, whether whether that should be still be our starting base, or are we even comfortable with that? And if we're doing a little better than expected, do we want to consider doing something more than that?
But I am not seeing 1,500. I don't see where you're seeing 1,500
Oh, well, it would help if I shared my screen when I'm talking about things, wouldn't it?
because I am seeing, yeah, I'm seeing 1,500. There were so many revisions.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah,
It's right. Well, now I lost it. See, I looked away from it for a second and I lost it. Where did it go?
it's right here.
Here it is. Here it is.
1,500. Yeah.
Line 22.
Yeah, I pulled up the wrong thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a comfort level. Yes.
Yeah, I suggest that we stick with that. I mean, we all are feeling pretty good about how the virus is being brought under control, but there are still a lot of unknowns and a lot of unknowns about budget. So in terms of raising that amount, I'm not comfortable with that. I think that we've done as well as we've done because thanks to everybody's hard work and especially Sandy with working with the budget. We're in the good shape we're in because we've been very conservative, and I think continuing to be conservative is probably our best bet. So 1,500 is fine with me, but I wouldn't want to go over that.
Other thoughts? Sandy, I'm sorry, I was going to ask a question and then Bill. Sandy, where are we projected to be relative to our current 20% excess cash cap?
We'll be over it, and we might be over it by $20,000. I'm not sure, but when I get to my next year's report, it'll be discussing really the impact of giving all of that back on next year, which is going to be much tougher year than this year for Oakland Mills financially. So
Okay.
we were able to, we had, it's basically because of our staffing. We had the equivalent of not even 3 people working as opposed to 12 people, day and night hours. So, and 1 less covenant advisor salary. So that's why we were able to finish the year okay. But in starting up in May, we can't carry a light staff load and try to build up our business.
So I think, and of course, the big unknown is whether we can keep any of that, whether that will benefit us next year more than the 20%. Yeah. So you're saying we could be $20,000 in excess of the 20%?
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh. Cause I was going to go that's
20%. So it'll be 20% of what our end of the year operating is that we can keep, but we might, have to give back up to that much money if we had to.
up to 20,000. I'm confused here.
Yeah.
Are you saying that we could be writing CA a check for $20,000? We might be $20,000 over the 20% cap.
It could be, yeah. And I think other villages will find themselves like that too, because they just had new staff.
Yeah.
But that was this year. And I think that the thing is that we can't look at this year as being our toughest year. Next year is going to be our toughest year.
Right. But what I'm saying is if we can't bank that money, it doesn't matter.
No, but I would think we can look at it again, like at the end of April,
Okay.
and ask the accountant to go over everything and bring it back to you at 2 more meetings.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay. So we are not too late. If we leave this sitting at 1,500 now, because I would happily cut the checks to the PTAs now and zero this out, but could we revisit this line item later?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
what I don't want to do is I don't want to deny organizations in Oakland Mills that might need help this year and then writing a check to CA when we could have written bigger checks to, local Oakland Mills organizations. So I fully support what Lynn is saying, but I also don't want to end the year like slapping ourselves on the head going, oh my gosh, we had the opportunity to do a lot more.
I will have a much better figure in 2 weeks.
Okay, then let's bring it back.
Okay.
Since we did vote a budget that was intended to give 300 per PTA at the beginning of the year, I mean, given where we are now, would everyone be comfortable if we just started cutting those checks and then revisited for other donations later? Or do you want to hold the whole thing?
I think that's a smart move. Yeah.
Give them the money now.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, because we don't need a vote on that. We already voted that budget in at the beginning of the year, so we can cut the checks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's zero out that donations line item at $300 per PTA, PTSA per school. And then we'll revisit whether we want to allocate other funds into donations as we close out the fiscal year. All right. Well, something's got to derail us because we're just cruising through. Sandy,
Okay,
and
now,
now for the bad news, the fiscal 22 draft budget discussion.
right.
Do you want me to share or are you going to share?
No, you can't share because you don't have the final thing that I did today.
Oh, that's right, I don't.
Are you seeing the screen?
No.
No.
Okay, so I want to share, so I hit share screen.
Yes. And then pick the screen you want to share.
It's not, okay, let me see. Can I share just a document, Jonathan?
You can, yes. If the document is already open, you
Oh, I
can,
have to open it. Okay.
yeah, open the document and then click share screen, and then it'll give you a mini view of everything you have open. Pick the document you want to share in that mini view, and it'll blow it up for all of us.
That's where I falter. Okay. Hold on, let me pull that up.
Or if it's anything like what's been happening at my daughter's school, you will somehow lock all of our laptops and we will have to find another way back into the meeting.
But it's just not showing it. Like I want to share the screen and it's just not,
Well, when you click share screen, what's happening?
I'm getting like I can open advanced share options only host, but I'm not getting the Excel. Oh, here I go. Okay.
There it is.
Okay, so I have 3 columns here. Didn't label this one. The first column is FY22 first draft. That's where we are tonight. Just ignore the colors. Budget, the middle column was our revised budget for FY21, which is our current year. And I was trying to compare a comparable year. So this last column, though it's not labeled, is from 2020, FY20, a year ago, where we had about 11 months of normalcy or 10 months and 2 months of abnormal. And I think that, you know, we're going into this year with at least 2 months, but I think probably about 4 or 5 months of very low rentals because things have to start to open up. So what we do is we start with our revenue, and we know that next year we're getting $300 and basically $12,000 from CA. The $27,000 is medical reimbursement. So that's actually money that we're spending and then we get reimbursed. So we're really looking at $312,000. Compare that, it's basically the same as last year, but compare it to 2 years ago, it was $358,000. So Jonathan, do the math.
Well, first I have a question. Isn't CA supposed to resume our reimbursement on the contingency fund next year?
We haven't heard that, and it hasn't been.
Okay.
So I didn't include that.
Okay.
So that is, Jonathan.
So it's $56,000 difference.
Yeah, and that's a big difference. So the other big difference is we ended last fiscal year 20 with almost $170,000 in rental income. And that was a pretty good normal year. And actually, had the pandemic not happened, we would have surpassed that. This year, we budgeted about 19,000, and that's pretty much where we're coming in. Next year, I'm looking at like a third of what we made 2 years ago, figuring that we're gonna have a whole lot less rentals, because first of all, our capacity is at 100, and that's not changing for a while as opposed to our normal 200. People are still hesitant to book anything. So while I think that number might increase, I based it on what we have on the books now, which are 17 social rentals. Money from our neighborhood center at Stevens Forest and Talbot Springs and Thunder Hill. So basically, that's where we came, basing it on the number of rentals we have now. I mean, that number of rentals should more than double in a normal year. And Brigida, who's on the call, she's giving tours, we're getting people that are interested, but they're still more looking at 2022. So I can't overestimate that. The only other type of revenue we have is special events. That's if we had any jazz concerts, if we had a festival with vendors, but normally that would be about 15 or 16,000 in revenue. And, I can't estimate, we're gonna have jazz concerts for the next year. I don't think we're gonna have 200 people attending a concert in our loft.
Now, an outdoor festival with vendors may be feasible because you're talking October.
And that's a pretty much break even because we have to spend money on performance.
Yeah.
So, there's not money in that. And the other fees are just basically homeowner packets that we have to pay for. So when we look at our revenue, it's really from rentals and it's from CA. And so that gives us next year a revenue stream of about $407,000 as opposed to more than this year, 360,000, much less than 2 years ago. So then in our expenses, our biggest expense is salaries. 2 years ago, it was 302,000. We had 15 people on staff. We had a full robust rental schedule. We were open 6 days a week, pretty much from 9 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night, 4 days a week. We can't do that again. So I've looked at reducing our salaries to Brigida and I, who are full-time staff, our covenant advisors, who I couldn't even bring up to their normal without breaking our budget, Amy, who works limited hours, and maybe having, once we're open, 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, where we have front desk people and people can come in and do their business there, because other times we can't afford to have someone at the front desk all the time. And possibly just 2 hours on meeting nights when we have a RAC meeting or board meeting. So cutting it back until we start seeing more revenue from rentals.
Why is contract labor so much higher than?
So we have a new bookkeeper, and in the past, Rich was our bookkeeper and he was paid under staff salaries.
Okay.
So this actually, it's a much better way to have a bookkeeper. We don't have them as an employee, so they're contract labor. So I think actually she's a little quicker, so she'll be working actually less hours than Rich did, and we're not paying benefits and all that. So that is that. So good question, John, and good answer. Payroll, benefits, and taxes, and janitorial, I've cut way back from a normal year as well, because with less people in the building, we can cut back on the cleaning, pretty much maybe mirroring what we did this year. And of course, once rentals pick up and activity in the village center and in the community center picks up, then that will have to increase. The fees are our basic accounting fees that are for our CPA. And then I've had put in 1,500 legal. You never know. We've had many years where we haven't spent a penny, but I put something in there. The web is the contracts on our websites. We have 2 websites and we have to renew them. Actually 3. We have one for bookings, one for the other barn, and one for Oakland Mills Village. And then the expenses are all of our expenses that are payroll, pest control, recycling, just any building related expenses and fees is that category. Supplies, the postage basically is the election. We don't have much postage. It's always reduced because we do a lot by email, but our election mailer, so I would anticipate that every year. Staff development is dues to Leadership Howard County. And then mileage, food, this is basically board food, and if we had any awards or thank yous or a board dinner or something, and those are again much reduced. Our insurance, can't change that. Advertising is the wedding wire, and that is where we get almost all of our rentals. So we can make it up in 2 rentals in the year. Other printing, again, that is the newsletter for the election. It's very expensive. I up the donations to 3,000 in this scenario. Special events income, I put it 4,000, and actually we're thinking of having a plant sale. So
That's expense. That's not income.
this is expense. Well, we have
Yeah.
to pay for it and then we get back. I mean, I didn't calculate that as great as I could. I have no idea. What else do we get? Special events income or expenses is our lively arts performers, if we want to keep that up. And if we have a jazz performer, or if we have a summer concert in the courtyard or something. Utilities are pretty consistent from year to year, so I just kind of base it on that. Our phone, though I actually did negotiate yesterday. When Comcast sends you a bill that you don't like, you call them, and it takes about an hour to get to a person, but normally they will give you a reduced rate significantly. So I have a new 2-year contract, so that'll be a little lower. Building repairs and maintenance, I mean, can't change that either way because you never know. It's pretty consistent. So that would give us, our expenses would be at 420,000, almost 421. So the difference would be that we'd be showing under this scenario with, as I said, limited staff, a $13,000 shortfall. And that's really a bare bones staffing budget. So that's where any money that we could retain from this year would help us run a more normal operation next year. Bring our people
now-
up. What?
Does this assume that we are carrying over up to 20%? How does that work in?
Cash reserve, I didn't put that in here because I don't add that in. It's
Okay,
it's cash.
okay. So, this isn't pretty. Of course, when we were this time last year, we were looking at something that wasn't pretty either. So we don't know, how it's going to turn out. But one of the things I think we have to do, or maybe this is already happening, Sandy, I don't know. I know that we've helped out a couple of our neighborhood center tenants by basically, letting them pay a break-even monthly rate until they get operating again. Are we assuming that they're going to go back to full pay in?
Yeah, well, actually, the only one that isn't paying full right now is the Oakland Mills Nursery School.
Mhm.
And to tell you the truth, I have emailed twice this week to who I knew I had a contact who was the last president of the nursery school, but she said she was not continuing as a parent there. And she didn't get back to me, and she normally does. She lives in Oakland Mills. And then I went on their website because my tenant at Talbot Springs actually would like to expand her daycare into another center. So I'm not sure. So I went on the Oakland Mills Nursery School website and I emailed their membership person because it says now enrolling for next year. And I said, I need to hear from you. I need to know what the status is, if you're going to be returning. And that was yesterday, and I haven't heard back, but I'm going to have to know, or they're not going to have the center because I have another who will pay more money for that center.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. We did it. We made those arrangements this year because it was kind of win-win, right? It helps us pay the gas and electric bills. It helps them keep the space for when they open again. But if they're not sure, or if they can't, afford our version of market rate, and we have other demand for it, we're going to have to make those decisions.
Right.
Because
so if I don't hear back, they're getting basically, I'll need to know this by the end of April.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but that's that, because I do have someone who's paying a nice, rental at Talbot Springs, and just yesterday said, is there any other centers available? And she's been a very good tenant there.
So, you know, this is my commentary on the whole thing, but this is exactly the point that some of us village chairs were making at that CA meeting, and also some of the CA members. And again, thank you, Ginny. We're not asking for a waiver of the excess cash reserve because we want to save money. We're asking for it because we knew looking forward into next year, it's going to take money to make money again. We have to open before we can make any money, and it's going to cost us in salaries and other things to get open before anything starts coming in. I realize that we as a board can't fix that. We're going to have to abide by whatever CA says because we signed a contract. But you know, I think it does again drive home to the honestly the minority of people there who said, oh, the villages are just trying to bank a bunch of money. What are you using this money for? Well, this is it. It's for the rainy day that's coming next year, because, you know, people think next year is going to be rosier because things are opening up, but you have to start spending the money to get open before you can make any money, and that's money we're not going to have based on this budget. And this is a very conservative budget. I mean, about the only thing I can see to do to help that minus 13,000 bottom line a little bit right now, you know, without talking about furloughing staff or things like that, is basically zero out things like donations and you know, basically the discretionary stuff, donations, and I forget what else is discretionary. But even if we zero those things out, I think we're still $9,000 or $10,000 in the red right now, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else discretionary. And I think that our staffing is so bare bones and we've cut back on covenant hours that, you know, if we cut back on that, that'll be negative to the community as far as
Yeah.
our ability to handle our covenant process.
Well, the way I see houses going on the market and then selling for over asking 10 minutes later, I think our covenant advisors might be busy over the course of the next year.
I'm as a covenant advisor tomorrow, I have 3 places to go and take pictures of for letters of compliance that just all came in today. And it used to be like a house would go on the market and sell and the closing is 2 months later and you have time. And now it's like, I get it today and I'm closing in 3 weeks. So you can't sit on it either. We have to have staffing that can just go out and do this.
Now, what's going on with our loan proceeds? Is CA now going to consider them part of our general revenue subject to the cap, or?
We don't know. They didn't tell us yet. And it's not the loan. It is.
Oh, the grant. I'm sorry, the grant.
I just have to get a glass of water. Keep talking. I'm listening.
So there's apparently still an open question about whether grants the villages received are going to count toward our general cash and then therefore, you know, be counted toward the excess cash reserve cap, or whether they're, you know, separate for the villages. And I'm very uncomfortable that this is still an unknown. I mean, I think we need a final determination from CA now, because I actually think that if CA treats that as part of our general revenue and applies a cap to it, it's our responsibility to go back to the organization that gave the grant and said, the association you gave this to is not using it. It's, you know, it's being considered fungible by another organization, and, you know, part of it could be taken under the excess cash, because they might want that grant back. That was not their intent when they gave us those grants. And I don't know whether the CA staff are thinking this through and recognizing that, but that concerns me.
Would that even be legal, Jonathan?
I don't know.
It's given to us, that it then be taken by, you know, this other organization, even though it's an umbrella organization. I can't see that would be legal.
I don't know, because we're still an independent business entity.
Yeah, I mean,
we have a financial relationship with another business entity, but that's not the, are they the grantor? Yeah, that's not the grantor's
Jonathan,
problem, right?
Jonathan, I thought, excuse me, there was a process involved here where CA, auditor, and other staff were going to be meeting with the village managers and working this all out.
They are coming, they asked to come to our next meeting on April 14th, which is far away because a lot of the villages have to already approve their budgets at their first meeting in April. And also, they don't really tell us what we're talking about. They said, oh, the contingency fund, but and they don't really give us a full-blown thing of what they're going to talk about, but
The contingency fund doesn't even
work it
exist.
out. I think it should be more of a CA board thing too.
Did they say they're coming to talk to you about the contingency fund? It
Not the
doesn't even
contingency
exist.
fund. They're coming to talk to us about the cash reserve.
See, this is this is what really frustrates me. These are the kinds of conversations and decisions that should have already been made, because
They should have.
basically what CA staff are going to do is they're going to back the villages up against the wall, because we need to have a budget passed by the end of April, or we can't operate come May 1st.
Mhm.
So really, we should know these things now so that we can finalize a budget with room to spare in April. We
And-
shouldn't be figuring them out on April 14th and then scrambling at our last board meeting to pass a budget.
And we brought this up, as did the other villages in
We brought this up last year.
January or in December.
We
So-
brought it up earlier than that. We brought it up last year when we were going for these grants.
Oh, the grants, yeah. In other villages, like there's villages that meet once a month, that they'll have already have to vote on their budget before the CA staff is even coming back to us. We don't have an agenda of what they want to say. So I think it's way past the time we should know what's going on.
Okay, so why don't you give me the question that you want, send me an email with the question that you want answered, all right? Because I thought there was a process that had been agreed upon where, as I just said, you'd be meeting with each other and working out all of these issues. Okay,
Well, I actually thought that the CA staff had already determined that the grants would not be subject to, consideration under the cap until Sandy sent me something last week while preparing for tonight. So
yeah,
I don't know why they're backtracking, but I mean, we need to know now. And I do think they need to consider the legality of what they're doing if they're going to,
mhm.
capture grant funds in whatever else they do. Look, if CA decides that they want to stick by the 20% cap, we signed a contract. We can be unhappy about it, but we signed a contract. It would be nice if CA did not enforce that this year. But if they're going to apply that 20% to, revenues we gain by going for grants because of a pandemic, that if it's not illegal, it's completely absurd.
All right, well, guys, so
I
we
think
can end this. Why don't you just send me the question and send me whatever you got that I'm not aware of, whatever email that was, and I'll work on it, okay?
All right, Sandy, can you take care of that?
Sure.
And Ginny, if necessary, maybe like with that other budget thing a couple of years ago, if necessary, maybe even you, Sandy, and I can get on a Zoom just to make sure we're all on the same page about what we're talking about, since email traffic can sometimes get confusing.
Yeah, Jonathan,
We met at Wendy's, didn't we? Now that I remember with the emergency.
No, we met at Dunkin' Donuts on Shaker Drive. Oh, Wendy's, yeah.
Yeah, Wendy's. No, that was the elevator. Wendy's was the elevator.
It was a Friday morning, because you needed an answer and action done for your weekend events, or it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, I remember that.
Jonathan, I suggest that we go back and look at our minutes, because I remember that it was said that when we were applying for the grants, when we were going to do that it wouldn't be counted.
It was, and that's why, remember when we looked at the financials last time, I was confused about why there was $10,000 too much sitting in a column. It's
Right.
because I think that's where the CA staff told us to park that money, so it would be separate.
Well, there's two separate monies too. There's the loan, which is why we're gonna look at the revised financial.
Okay.
This,
Well, if they're doing anything, with the loan, I would say
they're
that,
not.
okay, all right, because I was going to say, if they're considering that part of our revenue, I would just write a check and pay off the loan right now.
Which we can do because we have the cash.
Yeah, well, but we won't have it next year. That's the problem. The problem is we have the cash now. We need the cash next year. So we need
to know.
yeah, I mean, we'd prefer flexibility. If nothing else, we need to know from CA whether we have flexibility or we don't, because we can't plan next year without knowing.
All right, guys, if you send me the stuff, I will work on it, okay?
Okay.
Be happy to, and I thought that was, Lynn, I agree with you. I thought that was resolved, okay. And I agree with what somebody said, because CA has the same problem. In order to get money, you have to be able to hire people. You have to put money up first in terms of whatever you open, sports and fitness clubs, anything else. You have to hire staff. You have to do a lot of safety things. So you need to spend money in order to begin to start earning money. That's the same for CA as it is for you guys. We know that.
Yeah, and look, I'm not trying to dismiss CA's situation, but you know, in comparison, I mean, the other challenge the villages have, you know, versus CA is if we wanted to borrow, we don't have anything to borrow against. We don't, you know, we don't have property or anything. So
Right.
basically, we rely on what we make. That's it.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay, I will take care of it.
All right. Thank you very much,
I'll
Ginny.
text you an answer to the question. If you can get me an email quickly, that would be great.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's it for this draft.
Thank you. Okay.
So do we need to do anything with this draft
No.
now? Okay.
It'll be on the next meeting. Old business. Again. We really don't have to vote on it until the last meeting in April. So we have 2 more meetings to talk about it.
Right. Yeah. I don't want us to be rushing to get to a vote at that last meeting, you know, while still considering information we didn't have.
Right.
But basically, I would like all of us to feel very comfortable with the budget at that last meeting so we know what we're voting for versus still trying to figure these things out.
Okay. So then the next screen I'm going to share, and this will be quicker. Let me just open it, try to do it right. Is when we sent in our financials for the 3rd quarter. Let me share it. The accountant did not, even though she knew what to do, we didn't put the $10,000 loan as a, you see this?
No.
No.
Okay. We didn't put the $10,000 loan as a deferred revenue. You'll see it. Okay.
There it is.
Okay, so nothing changes in the bottom line. This is the FY 21, which is what we're in, 3rd quarter, where we just have to note on our statement of financial position is deferred revenue, long-term due within a year of $10,000. And that these are not monies that would go back to CA. It shows the loan that we took that is still an outstanding long-term debt.
Okay, so it's basically moving a $10,000 line item around.
Well, it's putting it in there. She somehow
Okay.
transfer that into there. And
Oh, so this offsets that 10,000 I saw at the last meeting where
it doesn't. It's a separate
Oh,
spreadsheet. And
okay.
it just wasn't in here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She
So
set up.
it's a correction.
It wasn't carried over from the last quarter. So
Okay.
she corrected it. So I just need the board to accept the corrected financials, and that was the difference.
All right. I'll motion to accept the corrected financial that now accounts for the long-term $10,000 loan due within a year.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. I think, yep, that's everyone.
Can you tell me what the count is? Because I can't see.
It was everyone who's 1, 2, 3, 5, 500, because Bill has now joined us. Yeah, 500.
Okay.
And actually, that was supposed to be under my report. So I think I am done.
All right. Well, thanks, Sandy. I hope the news gets rosier, but we found a way last year, so we'll find a way this year or next year, I guess.
You're
It still is last year. Okay, next up, and I will invite Warren to reveal his
himself.
video and his sound. No, not reveal himself. I'm not going to say it that way. Warren, if you can unmute the next item of business is the Stevens Forest Road, Santiago, Whiteacre Safety Streetscape. What a mess it is by the Village Center discussion.
Can you see me?
We see you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what you look like without a mask. I forgot.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Aye.
So Warren and members of the Public Space Committee met Saturday morning and basically went along Stevens Forest Road from Whiteacre up to the Camelback Santiago intersection. My daughter and I joined them. Warren's daughter was the videographer. And you know, we observed the crosswalk down at down at Whiteacre and Stevens Forest, and unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know how to classify this. Drivers were on their behavior, probably because a bunch of people were standing around staring at the at the crosswalk. And then, of course, up at Santiago, Camelback, and Stevens Forest, where we could sort of hide behind the professional center sign and more discreetly take video. I would say, what, 90% or more of the cars just kind of roll through the stop sign. Very rare to see a complete stop. And Warren, I don't know if you wanted to go into what the Public Safety Committee is recommending, but I wanted to share my personal observations since I was able to join them for the morning.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. Like you said, rolling stops up at Santiago. I thought that down at mostly what we addressed was at Whiteacre, and we found that it was difficult. Most of us are bike riders, and we found it difficult to cross from Whiteacre crossing Stevens Forest because of the traffic. A lot of people tend to speed going downhill, and there's no stop sign there. And we also found some people had talked to, people tend to congregate at the benches right there. And a lot of times they'll cross to go to the Village Center. And some of the members had talked to those people, and they were uncomfortable crossing the street there. And this is not just young people, it's people of all ages. And so we've recommended that the county look into some kind of traffic control of some sort. We didn't feel that we should make that recommendation. That's something that a traffic engineer should do. But we think the county should probably help us out there. That's about it.
So Sandy,
Do we have any sense of how the streetscaping plan that was developed and passed years ago, what impact that would have were it put in place now, what effect that would have on the traffic? Was that part of the consideration at the time?
I think that they stopped short of really studying the two intersections
Okay.
and more looked at, the pretty design, but like there was supposed to be a roundabout on Santiago, but then when you looked at, there's private property on two of the corners.
Uh-huh.
When you looked at that, I'm not actually sure a roundabout would be doable. And then the other roundabout, I don't think they ever really nailed it down. And it was also before the bridge and the pedestrian path was done. So that I really feel like we do want the streetscape, but I think they have to really study each intersection based on today as opposed to 2014.
Yeah, I guess my concern would be that we don't move forward with some sort of traffic mitigation thing that would then, wreck whatever the plan was for the streetscape, and to the extent where it just gets, tabled or oh well, we've done this, and so we don't need to move forward with the streetscape.
So to go back to the streetscape, and these are old now, but this was concept one. It would have had around you have to reorient yourself because to the right is north. I mean, I'm sorry, to the right is south. So this is the south side of the village center area on Stevens Forest Road. This is the north side, Santiago. Can you see my cursor when I'm doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Santiago is here, Camelback is here. So the original concept one had a roundabout here. It had actual medians with trees, so no paint. So it would have narrowed the road, narrowed the part of the road that's accessible to vehicles. It's really hard to see on here. It had bike lanes. Here's the south Robert Oliver Place. Here's the north Robert Oliver Place. Here's Whiteacre, and there would have been a roundabout there. But as Sandy said, this was before the alignment of the multi-use path, which we know does not align perfectly with where this roundabout would be. There'd have to be some, realignment of that now. This was the view of how things would have looked on Stevens Forest Road. So you would have had dedicated bike lanes on the shoulders, one lane of traffic each way, trees in the median. So that would, really compress things, which does tend to discourage speeding. Because one of the things the traffic engineers have always said is people don't care about the speed limit. They go as fast as it feels safe to go. And the more you make them feel confined, the less fast they feel safe going. Whiteacre got done. And then this was concept plan 2. Now it was going to have enhanced crosswalks with pedestrian lighting for walks. So I don't know if that meant the flashing lights that I was talking about at the last meeting or what, because it's hard to see what's going on here, but you still have a 4-way stop up at Santiago and Camelback. You still have, the intersection at Whiteacre and Stevens Forest without a roundabout, but you also have the narrowing of the lanes, the addition of bike lanes, the bioretention bike bump outs, accommodation for the trail, no more turn lanes on Stevens Forest. So it would still constrain Stevens Forest Road much more than it is now. And here's the street level view. So this is a little different. This was a neat concept because now you don't have the median separating the cars. You have the cars separated by a double yellow line. You have a median in Stevens Forest Road, and then you have a dedicated multi-use path for bikes and pedestrians.
And also a dedicated over here for pedestrians.
Well, yeah, and sidewalks over on the other side of Stevens Forest Road. So my thought on this is still that we should be asking the county for basically short-term immediate safety fixes, like whatever the traffic engineers think is best, the flashing lights at Blandair, whatever, to make those crosswalks safe now, because it takes a while to do a streetscape, and you don't basically defer safety until you can do the streetscape, but with the long-term commitment to doing the streetscape that comprehensively addresses the issues on the road. Because I agree with what you're saying, Lynn. We don't want to settle for something quick and lose something better, but at the same time, we don't want to avoid something quick and have people in danger on the crosswalk until they can do something better. So it's
I just didn't want it to be that we do something quick and then that becomes an impediment to doing the streetscape. To say, well, we've already invested so much money in the flashing lights on the crosswalk, or the, whatever the short-term suggestion is that they come up with, and that we don't want to redo that. And so then we're just not going to do anything more. I mean, we've kind of seen that a little bit. Do you know where it stands as far as the streetscape goes, from going from Talbot Springs Elementary up to Thunder Hill Road?
There's no plan. I mean, it's not, it
right,
was never funded.
Never funded, but I mean, there is a plan for that as well. And that was put on hold because of the redo of Talbot Springs. And of course, we don't want to say, no, we don't want a school, because we want to have our streetscape first, but you don't want them to do something that will prevent them from doing it.
Actually, if you look at this, I don't think there ever was a plan. I think it's something that we said that they should logically think about.
Okay.
But if you look at even this original plan, because remember, all this is before the rebuild got funded, it still stopped at Basket Ring.
Yeah, but I remember it was because when the discussion was, well, when they do when they redo the school, it wasn't funded, but there were plans to redo the school. And it was, oh, well, that's a waste of money. I mean, it was even the same thing, if you recall, with the pedestrian bridge and the pathway, because the pathway down to the bridge had to be regraded to a degree because it was so steep. And there was a lot of concern. Well, why do we want to spend the money regrading the path if we're just going to be redoing the Stevens Forest Road streetscape? So, it's always kind of a catch-22. But I think there should be ways talking with, in not just a traffic engineer, but also a traffic engineer together with the people who would be redoing the plan for the streetscape, just to be sure that it would align, that whatever would be done would be something that would be also useful and not prevent not prevent a nice design for the streetscape.
And I'm not going to pretend to know what even the short-term traffic safety devices might cost, but I'm trying to keep it in perspective. They can't be anywhere near the type of investment as building a new school or building a bridge. So I guess in the federal government we say what's $1 billion here, what's $1 billion there. At the county level it's smaller, but we're probably talking about thousands versus tens of millions when it comes to what they could do short term to make those crosswalks more visible versus what we would put into the long term.
So Jonathan, because we did bring this back, do you want the next step to be a letter to start the ball rolling? What do you want as the next step? And just note that we have, at our next 2 meetings, we have already scheduled presentations. So,
well, we can just go till midnight. I mean, no.
we're all home.
Yeah, what else do we have to do? So I know that the resolution is just something the Public Space Committee is sending to the board for our consideration, but I did want to look at that. And I do think that we should take the advice take the advice of the Public Space Committee and then add to it. So I do think we should put something together that petitions Howard County to make some quick and short-term improvement to those crosswalks to ensure greater visibility and greater safety for pedestrians and bikers as an immediate, but design that with eyes toward the longer-term implementation of the streetscape that would provide other safety enhancements as well as dedicated space for walkers and bikers. I think we can say it all in one letter, but again, I think it's driving home that point that you don't leave Stevens Forest Road the way it is while you wait for the streetscape, because when that person gets hit by the car, then what are you going to say to that person's family? That we didn't bother to put up the better sign or the flashing light because we were hoping to find the money for the streetscape. No, you make the short-term safety fix and you continue to to do the long-term comprehensive plan for a terrible road.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents. But you all know that I think Stevens Forest Road is just atrocious from end to end. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the short-term safety things that can be put in place to mitigate the dangerousness of the crosswalks is a smart way to go. But I think that we still are going to have people speeding, and we're still going to have a lot of problems until those roads are re-engineered so that they're not, with the little lanes going this way and that way, and bike lanes here and stopping and all of that.
Right, and that's why I'm saying you do the short-term thing to make it more visible, and then you continue with the long-term thing to really control the traffic.
And re-engineer the whole thing.
Right, because the only way you can really control the traffic on that road is to re-engineer the road. All you can really do right now in the short term is make those crosswalks more visible so that when, not if, when people are speeding on the road, hopefully a blinking light or something will catch their attention before they come up on that crosswalk that they can't see from a distance.
Mhm. Yeah, agreed.
So I think we should, I mean, I think we should certainly accept the recommendation of the Public Space Committee and thank them very much for the, for the time and effort put into this. And like I said, build on that, because I think what Public Space here, Public Space is recommending is something that could and should be done, very short term, immediately, to make things more visible. And then we build on that for the long term. We want the streetscape, because the streetscape would have been designed with these things in mind.
Mhm.
You can see it in the plans. I mean, what's better for bikers and pedestrians than dedicated lanes? Then you don't have to worry about the cars at all until you try to cross. And these plans also did have better accommodations for crosswalks and lighting at crosswalks.
And narrowing the width of the street as a
Right.
whole.
Right, which will slow the traffic down.
So could we do something as simple as have use this resolution, use it as is, and have kind of a cover letter to it saying that concerns are raised and that we want to reopen the discussion of the streetscape, but in the meantime, or as a first step to that, we want to look at these safety issues.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you want to add to the resolution to add Santiago.
Mm.
What's that?
Sorry, it's my cuckoo.
Oh, just adding that John had, 'cause
Well, I mean, the Public Space Committee can choose to do that. We can't tell them what to
Yeah.
recommend to us, but we can add it to what we do.
right.
I think too that when we do, hopefully we will have somebody from the somebody to do a traffic study. We'll have somebody who can come and speak to the streetscape issue at the same time and say, when you're looking at this, it's not just Whiteacre, it's also Santiago. It's the two, because they're right next to each other, and somebody just really
Mhm.
puts their foot on the pedal and think they're going to carry themselves all the way to Kilimanjaro, and then or they get past Kilimanjaro and say, whoa, I'm home free in the other direction, and they just speed along.
All right, Jonathan, are we thinking about recommending a roundabout for the Santiago Stevens Forest Road, which was proposed too many years?
No, I don't think we're not traffic engineers. I don't think we should be recommending anything until they
Okay.
study this. But I think what we're saying is,
Study it.
get
Yeah.
back on that streetscape. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You basically left us with what was an admittedly incomplete road where you temporarily put paint down, but you put that paint down 15 years ago, and you
Right.
never came back to finish the job, because that was all temporary. That all that paint that they did in the middle of Stevens Forest, that was all supposed to be temporary.
That was part of their traffic mitigation effort
Right.
at that point. And also, I mean, at this, if what I understand is that the county does have surplus money right now, maybe this is the time to say, hey,
Mhm.
this has been sitting there waiting to be funded for a long time.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah. And you got a lot more traffic now using that road than a couple of years ago.
Definitely do.
Yeah. With all the development, yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
dare I say the Village Center has been hopping with, especially with LA Mart there. The parking lot is always crowded now.
Yes, always. But they,
And
I think a lot more people are
and-
shopping there, which
And
is good.
Stevens Forest Road always has traffic on it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not like, oh, it's only, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, I know it, because I come out the other end of Camelback and make a left where there's not a stop sign, and sometimes I'm sitting there for quite a while, wondering why I didn't just go to the stop sign.
Yeah,
And then I
well,
remember why, because I'll probably get T-boned if I go to the stop sign.
I sometimes coming out of my road feel like I should really make a right and then go up and turn around and come back, because going across the road and making a left is
Right.
dangerous because there's a hill. I can't see cars coming up from Brookline Parkway till they're right on top of me.
Well, I'm just going to start leaving my car at Ginny's house, because then I'm, I'm just a couple streets away from Broken Land Parkway and I'm home free. She's yelling something at me on mute, and I'm sure it was good.
No, I just said, only if you make a right. You try making a left, forget about
Oh,
it.
no, no, no. Oh,
No.
no. If I'm coming from your way, I go up Owen Brown and I come out the other side to go left. And even that's kind of blind. I mean, again, Stevens Forest Road is just
Jonathan,
awful.
Jonathan, I saw you today. You got to stop driving across the CSA. From Owen Brown Road to Camelback. It's a no-no.
That's my private road. All right. So I think we know what to do. So I think Sandy, maybe you, Warren, and I can, put our heads together and bash out all these. We know what we need to do. We just need to put it in words and then circulate it to everyone.
Hey, guys, there's Paul.
Hi,
Hey,
Paul.
Paul.
Oh, yay.
Who's Paul?
You stay away.
We don't know. There's a guy named Paul there.
Wait a minute. We do have a vacancy on the board. All right. I'm going to move on to my board chair report. So first, and I'm sorry, I didn't put any of this on the agenda because it all happened after Thursday. Bill and I had a conversation. Was that just yesterday we had the conversation, Bill, about the medians?
Yeah.
So, I'm still seeing it. In fact, I did a C-click fix because the median on Stevens Forest at Kilimanjaro, the little pedestrian refuge, was completely blocked by leaves after the plows went through after the last snow. And I did a C-click fix to get that unblocked. And we're still getting complaints from residents about the conditions of the medians on Stevens Forest and Kilimanjaro especially. And it's primarily because, when CA is not doing its contracted maintenance during the summer, the county just lets the leaves that fall lie in the medians, and then they blow into the street and they clog the gutters and all that fun stuff. So, Bill and I were talking about what to do with this. And of course, we have our recurring ask in our budget testimony for leaf vacs, but that's a longer term expensive thing. I think, and I don't know that we need to vote on this. I don't know that this needs to be business. I just want to see if someone wants me to fire something off or even ask Ashley to look into it since she's listening in on our meeting. I really think that we just need to talk to the county about keeping the medians clean. The leaves fall every fall, whether they're going to do leaf vacs or whatever. It seems it's their property, right? We hold our residents to a standard when it comes to cleaning up their yards. I think the county needs to clean up its yard and keep these medians clear of leaves when the fall comes. It's not CA's responsibility. Their contract doesn't call for them to do it. It's not mowing, it's cleaning up. Any thoughts on that? That was the conversation Bill and I had yesterday after some more resident complaints came in about the condition of the medians.
I think Ashley is saying.
Ashley's giving the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Ashley, do you need anything formal from us, or is this something you can take back having heard it in open meeting?
I can definitely just take it as it is.
Okay.
Great.
All right. And like I said, it's primarily Stevens Forest and Kilimanjaro roads because those are our longest roads with medians. I think on Whiteacre, where they added the medians, the trees are still young, that it's not mattering yet, but eventually it will when those trees mature. So, like I said, primarily Stevens Forest and Whiteacre at this point. Although the other issue we have, while I'm talking about this, is on our roads that have bike lanes in the shoulders, they often get clogged by leaves and other debris at different times of year. So I think that's a problem, for example, along Mellon Brook and Lightning View with the bike lanes. Ginny?
Yeah, Jonathan, it's more than the leaves. Like Mellenbrook is a good example of gumballs.
Yes.
And they are very dangerous along, just if you're using Mellenbrook as an example.
Right.
If there's
And
anything the county would start doing with both, because those are, people are falling or, you know, you
yeah.
can't ride a bike with that.
And these are all leaves and gumballs. These are all things that the street sweepers can't pick up. I've sometimes wondered why the streets get swept so often when we really need them other things taken care of. I personally think we could do with less street sweeping and more other types of cleanup on the streets because the street sweepers can't handle this. In fact, it clogs them up. They won't go over it. So other than maybe keeping some dust down, I don't know what the street sweepers are accomplishing in villages like Oakland Mills that, you know, have such a tree canopy and have so much stuff falling on the roads.
I had no idea that the street sweepers couldn't handle that.
It's not, no, they don't. They
Yeah.
just move the dirt around.
Yeah,
More
it actually it breaks them, it clogs them because they're
Yeah.
meant to pick up like dust, not leaves and gumballs and stuff like that.
Yeah, more to the point of why we need to have one of those leaf suction vacuum
Yeah.
things.
Like Montgomery County has.
Yeah.
it,
Every
tried to
single
get
year.
for a long time.
I'd say 10 plus years it's been in
Yeah.
our testimony.
We've all been testifying before the county council and county executive budgets for that, yeah.
Mhm.
Even as a pilot, we were offering Oakland Mills as the pilot.
So Ashley, are you listening? You're our advocate here.
Yep, I've got all the notes.
All right. The other item I had is a very is a very interesting one. And again, I didn't get this in the agenda because this has been a developing story over the really over the past several hours. Sandy was contacted by an attorney representing a developer who has a contract in on what we currently call the Exxon lot. And that developer is interested in purchasing the lot and building a 7-Eleven and gas station on the lot. So, you know, kind of restoring it to what it once was in terms of the gas station plus the addition of the 7-Eleven. The reason they contacted Sandy is because they're aware of our non-resident architecture process. And for those who are new to the board, our non-resident architecture process is quite a bit different than our resident architecture process because it doesn't start with the rack and it doesn't get signed off on by the architecture chair. It starts with a public meeting with the board, and we actually meet as the board, not the architecture committee. So unfortunately it means I have to preside, which means I'm uncomfortable for an hour. But Lynn helps me a lot. So they've asked to be on our April 20, is it the 27th? Is that the last Tuesday in
Yeah.
April? They've asked to be on our April 27th agenda to present detailed plans of what they are proposing to construct on the site. So we would hold a non-resident architecture, step one meeting where, we review those plans. We can ask them, questions, they can give us answers. And then that would start a 3-week public comment period where residents of Oakland Mills can review the plans on our website and turn in comments on the plans for the development as they pertain to matters of architecture. So it's, it's not really a land use question. It's not a question of, do you want a gas station and a 7-Eleven versus an Italian restaurant or something like that. It's really about, the form and the appearance of what they're constructing, as well as some other issues, such as ingress and egress, which also becomes a county issue, because obviously we have issues on Stevens Forest Road. Right now, there's also a way to get in on Robert Oliver Place, but these are all things we'll get to look at. So it was very interesting to learn this was happening after 20 years of looking at that vacant lot. I'm coming up on 19 years living here and I've never seen anything there. So I know what it's felt like. And I know some of you have been around here longer than I have and have looked at it vacant for longer than that. So it will be interesting to see what they present to us. I plan on meeting with Sandy and Lynn between now and then, like I said, just to get prepared, to make sure I'm familiar with all the ground rules for the meeting, because, these are relatively few and far between. I think the last one we had was for the Dunkin' Donuts, and what is that now? 3 years ago now, maybe? It's been a little while.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, we had
Um,
LA Mart.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. We did have LA Mart and Pizza Man, but they were they
Man.
weren't. That wasn't really redevelopment of a property. That was like
Right,
signage and some other
right.
smaller things. It wasn't. I mean,
It
Dunkin'
wasn't-
Donuts wasn't a ground up build either, but they basically did change the whole character of the building when they did Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
This is a ground up build, so this is really changing the appearance of the lot.
Right.
And that's what we know at the moment. The property has not changed ownership, and it likely won't change ownership until this developer knows that he can develop what he wants on the property. So we are having his attorney go to the current owner of the property and make sure that the current owner, sends a signed letter saying that they can speak for what's happening on the property. And of course, because of the nature of this development, the county will also be involved in some point, the planning board. So Paul, to your point, that wouldn't be an Oakland Mills issue. That would be something where the county is going to have to step in and determine whether the distances are right, wrong, or otherwise. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what the distances are.
Yeah, I've also suggested to Jonathan that we talk to Jessica at CA who deals with properties as far as Newtown zoning goes, and some of the plans for what is recommended for the way that we develop the county we develop Columbia in the next decades. So we can get some input from her too as to what we should be paying attention to and questions that we might want to ask.
Yeah, I think that would be a very good idea. I mean, our role in this legally is pretty much limited to matters of architecture and our covenants, but that doesn't mean we can't be aware of other factors to consider and make sure that we're advocating for the community. But I'm interested to see what they have to present. I'm also interested in knowing what homework they've already done. Paul, I don't know if that's something they've already considered. I don't know if this developer has a lot of experience in the county, because like I said, Sandy has heard from the attorney, but do we know who the developer is?
No.
No. Okay.
I'll ask some questions when I have a chance of somebody who knows about what's going on with gas stations in Howard County, and I'll get back at you, Jonathan.
All right. Thanks very much. I believe that is everything. Oh, one other thing. I've reached out once again to Cedar, to Dina with Cedar, to find out what's going on with our, who's coming in behind Venari's, because they're leaving at the end of the month, because the reason they're leaving is Cedar found someone else, but they still haven't told me who it is. What's going on with the hair salon that's still under construction? What's going on with that mess of a Second Chance building? After about a week and a half, no response. So I did send a note to Sandy and Lynn last week saying, look, when it comes to that Second Chance building, enough is enough. You don't not fix, holes in the wall, gutters falling down, et cetera, because you're not sure what the next tenant will want. No tenant's going to look at the space and go, darn, I don't want it anymore because you filled the hole in the wall. So we are now hitting them, formally with the follow-up letters for the covenant process, and we're going to follow the process. And I've talked to Sandy and Lynn, and the way we're going to do this is the covenant related stuff is going to go to the property manager, because that's the appropriate place. And then we'll escalate from there. We're not going to involve Dina, the leasing person, in the covenant. I will continue to try to talk to her about the vacancies. And that way, if she uses the vacancies as a reason not to make the repairs to the center, I can say, nope, that's separate. You as the owner have a responsibility for the property you own, regardless of who's leasing it. I'm here to talk to you about, are you going to get someone to lease it? Your property manager can talk to us about the plan for fixing the property.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I have, unless there are questions. All right, on to Ginny.
You're talking about Shaw, the guy that wrote the actual gas station thing that the council passed, regulations, Oliva. Chris?
Yes. that's
Okay,
what-
great. He's an expert in all the current legislation. That would be good. I would think the owner and the person thinking about building a gas station would have done that, but can't assume anything, right? We're still in the process of finishing the search for the CEO, president for Columbia Association. Should be completed soon, and we'll be making an offer, and we will see what happens. We have some very good candidates, so that's issue one. We're all stressing the need for the next president and CEO to be out in the community more, to be very involved with the village boards, the other stakeholders. In fact, we want a plan from them, and communications, CA staff communications is also developing a plan for them. The second issue is the outdoor pools. First of all, I want to thank the board for a lot of positions you've taken, which were very, very difficult, I realize, on a lot of issues this year. But you really listened to everybody. You did a well-balanced thing, and we did get support for the resolution that by an 8-2 vote that I proposed, and with your input, I appreciate that. That basically said that the next priority, the first priority for CA, if there's any money coming in, will be for opening all our pools. I know I shouldn't be looking at somebody else's pocketbook, but you know, one, we're hoping revenue will come in higher than the conservative budget, because we too have a conservative budget. And there are people appealing their assessments, both on the commercial side and on the residential side. And we don't know how that'll turn out. If it turns out where they win, then obviously they're going to pay a lot lower than we had hoped they would. So that's it. That's a really could be problematic. But the other thing is, while CA is not eligible for getting any of the Biden, quote, Biden bill that just passed, the county is, and there's some understanding that they may be getting about 63 million. Don't hold me to that, but that's what I'm hearing. Well, Milton is in negotiations with the county to see if we can get some of that funding, and maybe we can use that. So that would be, you know, that's at least my I'll speak for myself. That would be my hope of what we can get some of the money for several things where the county is, you know, you've heard me say this before, so I shouldn't waste your time again, but just briefly, where the county is doing things outside of the county and our taxpayers are paying for it inside and outside. And it's just like the mowing, we're trying to really say, if we're going to do it, pay us. It's not like we've been subsidizing some of that to do extra mowing, because we know Columbia, CA knows Columbia expects more than what the county would have done. So that's really unfair. And these things have to change. The volunteer center was cut. We're hoping the county will pick that up. And the time bank, we're hoping the county will pick that up again, but we couldn't afford that in the budget, and things like that have been cut. The senior shuttle, the same thing, and I'm hoping the county will pick up on that or use some of this funding. So that's about it. But thank you again for all your letters and support on a lot of these issues.
I have a question, because we don't really know what has been cut and what hasn't, but what will be the status of the teen center going forward?
Yeah, well, actually, we've been all right, I'm going to answer that question in a second, but as far as not knowing, it's all online. We've worked with the staff to improve the budget process. There's like, I think, a 17-page introduction to the budget this year that explains things. And we've got a list up there of what's been cut. I can get that to you. That were previous programs. Obviously, a lot of things have been reduced as well. And we still have a lot of people that have been laid off and will not be coming back, or suffered financially, and that's something nobody wants to see, but it happened, and we're hoping things improve. I actually helped 2 people that had worked for CA find jobs. So, we're hoping that'll change, but it's not going to happen overnight. It'll take a while. But it is also an opportunity to look at CA and figure how we should maybe be doing things differently, perhaps. As far as the teen center, yes, that will be coming back. Definitely will.
Yeah,
Now-
and
now-
I know, Ginny, you had told me that you didn't think it stood a chance, so we didn't get fired up. But I'm really glad that CA did not follow through on charging that kind of nominal fee for the teen center, because it was really nickel and dime. It didn't make a bit of sense at all. It wouldn't have made a dent in CA's budget, and if you think about who the audience is for the youth and teen center, a few bucks means a lot to them.
Yeah, we were getting mixed messages on that from even some people that were active in the teen center, that, oh, well, maybe we can afford something because we're getting all the meals, we're getting other things. But we just thought it was easier to just, for the $25 a month, forget it. And I think a total $8,000 a year. Will people come back? See, that's your real problem with all of this. You open up and you open up safely, or you don't open up because you gotta be safe in terms of your employees, and you also have to for your customers. But will people come back? Slowly, we're getting an increase at the clubs, but teen center too. Will they come back there? So we're going to find out, but the building is currently open, right, to daycare. So anyway.
Yeah, and we know from those school statistics I had a couple of meetings ago, Oakland Mills looks like one of those communities where there's going to be, more hesitancy or maybe more slowness in returning to those activities.
Caution, yeah.
Yep. And that's true. We have it from both sides. One, I want to make sure it's safe. I'm not ready to go back. Or the other is, I will not wear a mask. I'm not going back till I don't have to wear a mask. Masks aren't, what they're saying is, I don't feel I can breathe right, et cetera. So you get it from both ends in terms of running a business like a gym or something like that. You get all sorts of customers and they have different opinions. The bottom line is, so they're not coming and using the gym, and therefore they're not paying membership. Therefore, you're not getting the income. But it'll work its way out. I think, Lynn, I got to give you a call. I had another meeting with a restaurant guy. So
Right.
I'm not filling you in every day. But like the Haven property has a lot of potential, and well, we've talked, I guess, some of this stuff to death. So thank you.
Thanks,
again.
Ginny.
Thanks again for all your letters and support, and also in terms of your thinking through issues. You asked very good questions. You raised a lot of issues, and you were very thoughtful in the approach you used in a very, very difficult year. Thank you.
Thanks, Ginny. That's why our meetings take so long. We think. We do a
Because
lot of
you
thinking.
Because you allow me on the agenda. That's not nice, Jonathan.
No, that's not what I was saying. It's because we're thinkers.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go Orioles.
Yes.
Creative thinkers.
All right, Sandy. Well, hey, we already took care of one of your items. So how about an election update and a financial and operations update? You're muted. You're still muted.
And I laugh
There
at
you
everyone who does that. I sent all the candidates, and most of you should be here tonight, a letter today, which I think goes over the details that you need to know at this point. So the next item on the agenda is, thanks to Amy and me and Brigida's editing, we have the newsletter ready to go. So it'll go to the printer, then they put it together, they send back a proof. And so our goal is to get it out next week. Yeah, Amy. You're mute now.
Yeah, I think we usually send it in about this time and they get it out, the 1st of April. So it depends on when you say too. They might be able
No,
to do it.
I'm ready for you to send it there. You just have
Yeah,
to label.
I'm just working on the mailing list right now.
So it'll go and it'll get out. And then I actually put in the e-news, which went out before this meeting, that if people don't get a mailing by I'd say the 14th of April, because sometimes it's slow. If they have access, if they contact any of you as candidates and they have access to an email, please ask them to email me with their name and their address, and I keep a list of who gets a newsletter mailed to them. So they will get a newsletter mailed, and that'll go first class, because the bulk mail is way beyond our control, and there will be people for whatever reason that don't get a newsletter. That I'll also probably be at the other barn that the Saturday, like the second Saturday in April. Don't tell people that, but if people just want to come up and sign their name, that they're in their address, I'll hand them a newsletter if they don't want me to mail it to them. So we did it last year, had a list of probably 20 or so people that contacted me. And I'll also check the phone machine, because the message will say, if you didn't get one and you cannot email me, leave your address on the phone and number. Financial and operations, the financial, we're working remotely still, and that will probably be until probably mid-May or whatever, till at least people are vaccinated, and we know our funding for next year to how many hours we can have the front desk open. We have, I think, 2 rentals in May. Brigida is busy going there like twice a week and on Saturdays showing people the building. But as I said, it's more for FY22, though. As things open up and people get vaccinated, I think we'll have some more parties in the fall. I've checked in with all of our party staff guys. There's 4 of them, Mark, Michael, Justin, and Brandon, and they're all ready to come back. So that's all good. Everyone's anxious to get back to the other barn. Charlotte's anxious. Donna's anxious. So it's just a matter of opening, having money to pay people, and having a safe environment, more for the staff, because until they're comfortable and vaccinated, and they're all much younger than me, so they have not had shots yet, we don't want to work in those small offices together. So that's our operations update. And elections. And you all have the election monitor chair's emails. If you have questions, they've been around for 40, 50 years now doing this. So feel free to email them, and hopefully everything will go as well as last year.
All right, any questions for Sandy?
Okay.
Thanks very much. Okay, committee reports. Lynn, do we have anything from architecture?
Not really. The big excitement is the NRAC with pulling that together to get ready next month. So that's pretty exciting to have something big on the horizon. And we had our RAC meeting last week. It was a little more modest in terms of the numbers of applications last week, but it's ramping up nicely for next week. So things are going very smoothly.
Okay, well, I think we're ready for the bulletin board. Amy, anything from the front office or the back office?
Or the bedroom.
I don't think I have anything now.
Okay, Ginny, anything else?
Yeah, just, I don't know if we talked about this at the beginning, a reminder of the 5:30 vigil for the Asian American down at the lakefront, although from what I'm hearing from you, Jonathan, and it may be postponed if it rains heavily, we'll know.
Yeah, they were supposed to be making a decision this evening, and it would basically be a cancellation since they don't have a rain date, but the hope was that they would find a new date at some point. So I'm hoping it turns out to be more of a postponement than a cancellation, assuming I haven't looked at the weather forecast, but last I looked, it was rain all day.
It's all day rain. It actually is forecasted to stop raining at 5.
Okay, well, this is 5:30, so it may work.
Yeah, it may work.
CA is, gave them permission to use the lakefront, and I know they'll get permission again for another date, but if it's 5:30, they may just
They
take
may
a
make
chance,
it.
yeah, on just doing it. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out. Yeah, I hope they're able to do it, but you
I
know,
do
I
too.
also want them to do it when the weather's nice enough that they really get the crowd that they were expecting to get.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ginny. Lynn, do you have anything?
No, nothing. Oh,
Okay.
I do actually. Let me just say that I was very heartened when I was going around looking at properties prior to last week's RAC meeting to see that the county had all along Wandering Way, they had, I think I counted maybe 8 large trees, large in that they were not just tiny. They were, 8-foot, nice diameter trees that they were planting as street trees along Wandering Way to replace trees that had died. So that was great to see.
Great.
Good.
All right, Rena, do you have anything for the bulletin board? Whoops, was that a, no, okay, okay. Bill, do you have anything?
Just one thing. Jonathan, who's winning the game going on behind you?
Yeah, right.
Well, so yeah, the Orioles are up on the Phillies, and I think they might take the World Series in 5 games.
I'm gonna have Chase Field in Arizona behind me.
Bill, you joined late, but before the meeting started, I put on my PA announcer voice and I announced the starting lineup for the '83 Orioles. Except I got the third baseman wrong.
That's great. That's great.
There's a lot of turnover with third base. Come on.
Yes.
I mean, you can
Yes.
be excused.
But it did eventually come to me. Todd Cruz. Todd Cruz was the third baseman. Okay, Rashida, do you have anything?
No, not today. Thank you, John.
All right. I don't believe I have anything either. Sandy?
No, just that it's pretty busy.
Yes. All right. Well, then I think we can say, hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us. It's nice seeing you again. And then say we're adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Take
Take care, everyone.
Safe.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was fun.
Last person I want